Okay, all right, so this is live. Okay, so let's get started. So today's topic is mind map of nervous system. So we'll have a look at this mind map on the chapter the nervous system, where this is gonna help you in last minute preparation with respect to your exams. So you can just have a look at the mind map and you can just revise it. So it is basically a quick way to revise your a chapter just before the exam. Okay, so you can have a copy of this one. So this I can send it on my Telegram. So the Telegram link is what you can do is you can just search Vani Kari ICSE Class 9 and 10 Biology on Telegram. So you'll find my channel. So there I can send it if you guys need. Okay. Alright, so before I start, let me introduce myself. I'm Vani Kari, Biology Educator at Unacademy. I'm an engineer with Bachelor's and Master's degree in Biotechnology and B.Ed degree. Also a founder of a startup where I grow microgreens by vertical farming technology. So let's have a look at this. So yeah, before that, so there is a crash course which is starting from November 17th. So this has already started, but yes, only in my case, that is biology, I have completed the first chapter. So you still have a time where you can enroll for this one, because this crash course is gonna run till March. Okay, so you all can take subscriptions so for your preparation with class 10 board. Okay, so that is specifically for ICSE. So you can have access to this crash course. So you can take the subscription using the code VANIYT. The referral code is VANIYT, where you can get 10% discount on the subscription. So you'll be getting 10% discount, and all these subjects like maths, physics, chemistry and biology will be covered, and the timing is also mentioned. So you can go ahead with this. Okay, so the mind map that I have added here, so this is taken from Oswald Publications. Okay, and one second. Okay, so this is taken from Oswald Publications. So let's have a look at the mind map of nervous system. So this is the overall mind map which is mentioned. I can explain it to you here itself, but I don't think it will be visible for you guys that clearly. So I have just made it a part by part, where we can start with the nerves, then what exactly is a neuron. So here neuron, need of nervous system is mentioned, the types of nerves are mentioned, so transmission of impulse. We can just have a look at these one by one. So let's have a look at the neuron, yes, which is basically a structural and functional unit of nervous system. I hope this is visible now. Yes, is this visible? The PPT and other things. Let me just check this. Okay. So the one which is given here, so what exactly is neuron? So neuron is structural and functional unit of nervous system. Okay, so this neuron, when we mention, so this is basically the one which is forming the spinal cord as well as the brain. So the arrangement in case of spinal cord and brain is going to vary. So we will discuss. So it is the structural and functional unit of nervous system. So that we call a neuron, and this complete structure what you see here. So this is basically a structure of neuron. Okay, and under structure of neuron, what do you see? So there is basically a dendrite part you can see. Okay, so cell body part, extension of this cell body itself is the dendrite part there. Okay, and these are all short processes, the dendrite, dendron, what you see. So these are all short processes. So there is one long process which you can find. So this long process is axon. Okay, so axon is having a covering. So there is a covering of myelin sheath and neural lemma. So wherever this myelin sheath is not there, so that particular point we call a node of Ranvier there. Okay, so with respect to that, you can find this is the complete definition, and this is the structure of neuron. And the parts will include the cell body is present, the dendrite is present, and the axon is present. So there are associated parts like axon ending or the axon terminal, which can also be called a nerve ending. And other than that, these gaps what you find, so these can be called as node of Ranvier. Okay, so there are different types with respect to this. So these were the parts. So there is a sensory neuron, motor neuron, and association neuron. So now you guys tell me, what is sensory neuron, motor neuron, and association neuron? So this you have already studied in class 9, class 10 of course, and because this chapter might have been covered in in your school, or otherwise also this is the old topic where you have studied it in class 7, the different types of neuron, like sensory neuron, motor neuron, and association neuron. So sensory neuron is going to bring the impulse from the receptor, so that is anything, any stimulus which is bringing about the change, okay, so which is bringing about the response by your body, so that we call a stimulus. Okay, so the stimulus comes in contact with the receptor, so then from receptor to the brain the impulse or the message has to be carried, and that is done by the sensory neuron. So next comes the motor neuron. Okay, so under motor neuron, what is going to happen? So from brain the message has to be sent back to a muscle or a gland, so that is for a response. So in that case it is the motor neuron which is bringing the impulse from brain or spinal cord, that is central nervous system, back to this gland, so that is gland, or what we call what is this, muscle, so basically for movement. Okay, so these two is where the motor neuron is going to work. And association neuron, yes, can anybody tell me what exactly is the function associated with association neuron? Just a second, I am just checking this. Okay. Hi Bharg Mishra, good evening. So any doubts that you guys get, you can ask. Okay, alright, so I'll continue with this. So these are basically the types of neuron, the motor neuron, the association neuron, and the sensory neuron. So association neuron, when we mention, so this is basically connecting the impulse through the sensory neuron with the motor neuron. So you can find association neuron either in brain or in spinal cord, where it is conducting the impulse from sensory neuron to the motor neuron. So there will be a connection that is gonna flow from a receptor back to the muscle or the gland for the specific function. So here you can see, okay, now in this picture, so this is sensory neuron. So what the sensory neuron is doing? So from dendrites from the receptor are receiving that stimulus, that is change. So once this stimulus has received the impulse, so that will travel through the sensory neuron. Okay, so you have your pre-board starting from 4th of Jan. Okay, all the best, do well. So it is from Jan, right? Okay. Alright, so now as the sensory neuron is carrying this impulse, and where it is carried to the association neuron, which you can find in the brain region or in the spinal cord region. So now this will carry the impulse from this one to this one. From association neuron, the impulse will be sent to the motor neuron, that is for the gland. Okay, so any gland the production has to occur, or it is the muscle, any kind of movement has to occur. So basically the what we call, so there is impulse transmission which is gonna occur. So how exactly this transmission of nerve impulse occurs? Okay, so this is, let's say this is the membrane of the axon. So you can find the sodium ions outside. Okay, and because of this LR content, so it is more of a negative charge on the outside. So whenever there is the stimulus that comes, so it is going to disturb this membranous structure, where outside it will be a sodium and inside it is more of a negative charge because of this LR content. So this we call a resting region. Okay, and this is also called as a polarized condition. So now when a stimulus is going to bring about the changes, so once the stimulus is actually comes in contact, like receptor does touch it, so there is an impulse which is going to travel through the sensory neuron. Okay, and in that case the channel for the sodium which was there outside, so that will open up and these sodium ions will start to move inside, and that region where the exchange of charge has occurred, so this we call a excited region, which is basically a depolarization, and this is a resting region. Okay, so on this other side, so this is a resting region. So now what will happen? So as it continues, the impulse has to continue from here. So basically the sodium ions will start to move. So there is as you have heard, so there is attraction between the opposite charges. So with respect to that, the plus and the minus, so this plus keeps moving on this side. Okay, and the minus is moving this way, and the same way here also the plus moves this side and minus moves this side, and that's the reason the continuity of the impulse will travel. That is mainly because of these charges, but that is the charges because of the movement of these ions in and out. So this one is the resting region now, where it will continue. So there is again recovery of the same condition is maintained, and that we call a repolarization. So earlier we call it depolarization whenever there was a disturbance with respect to the ion movement. So like from outside to inside they moved, and getting back to the normal condition, so that we call a repolarization. So earlier it is polarization, then there is depolarization, and there is repolarization, which will continue as such. So can you share this mind map on group 2? Which group are you talking about, Bharg? Are you there on ICSE Class 10 group, or are you there on Vani Kari ICSE Class 9 and 10? So if that is the case, you can just join my group, that is Vani Kari ICSE Class 9 and 10 on Telegram. So I'll anyway send it there. Okay. So we want MCQ series also on YouTube live class. Okay, so MCQs I can conduct here itself. Okay, so that can be done. So maybe for the next month I will conduct some MCQ series with respect to the, we can do that. So for next month I will conduct only polls, but not like what is that? So there is one more. No, so just I'll bring up question here. You can just answer those options over here. Okay, so that can be done. Okay, so what is the need of nervous system? So this keeps us informed about the outside. It carries 16 marks in section 1. So that is, so that, okay, you want me to discuss the previous year question papers? So that can also be done anyway. So keep us informed about the outside world, why exactly this nervous system is needed, so that we are aware about what's happening in the surrounding and with ourselves. So enable us to remember, to think and to reason out. So controls all the voluntary muscular activities. So regulating the involuntary activities. So all these under the control of nervous system, and that's the reason the nervous system is required. So if the nervous system is not working, so there are no sense organs which are going to work better. So even if the working is happening, so there wouldn't be any much functioning that will be seen. Okay, and that's the reason. So this is the associated part. And moving on to this one, so you can see there are types of nerves. Okay, so there is a sensory nerve, motor nerve, as well as there is mixed nerve. So these are the different types of nerves that you can find. And with respect to actions, so there are voluntary and involuntary actions which are there. Okay, what is this? So for next month I'll bring it. Okay, so for next month we can solve some MCQs. The timetable I can send it on the next only. So it is not yet decided. So the timetable for December I'll anyway share it soon. For class 10 ICSE all subjects. Okay, so all subjects you can inform them in the respective class. For biology at least I'll conduct MCQs, and maybe we can go ahead with some previous year question solving sessions also. Okay. Okay, so now with respect to this, what is synapse? So synapse is the point of contact between the terminal branches. So in the previous picture you could see that. So point of contact between the terminal branches over there. Okay, of the axon of a neuron with the dendrites of other neurons separated by a fine gap. So in that, so there is a fine gap which you can see between the neurons. Okay. We have classes every day, yes, with other subjects and bio. So bio you'll have every alternate day usually, and same way with respect to. So if I have bio today, so tomorrow there might be a chemistry. So basically alternate day you'll have anyway sessions on a daily basis itself. So this one is the point of contact between the terminal branches of an axon and the neuron. So basically let's say this is the axon terminal and this one is the dendrite of the next neuron. So this is not in contact completely like this. So basically what happens with the fine gaps, neurotransmitters are released from this and those neurotransmitters are received by this, and that is how the continuity of impulse is going to travel from one neuron to the other neuron. So that we call a synapse. And here the actions when we mention, so when the actions are performed consciously, so that we call voluntary action, which is under our control. So performed unconsciously, like we are not controlling this. Basically the actions which are not under our control, so those are called the involuntary actions. Okay, and nerve when we mention, so nerve is nothing but the bundle of fibers in the body. So that means, let me just say, so there are bundles of nerves like this. Okay, and this bundle of nerve is covered by a sheath. Okay, so this we call a nerve fiber. Okay, so nerve fiber is nothing but axons. So there are bundles of axons covered by a sheath, and that we call a nerve. Okay, so same way sensory, this is bringing the impulse from receptor to the brain or spinal cord. So this is carrying the impulse from brain or spinal cord to the effector organ, which is nothing but muscle or a gland. Here they contain both sensory and motor fibers. So that is mixed nerve. Okay. Yes, so it is basically a point of contact you can mention. The junction also is fine, but specifically try to use the words which are mentioned in your book. Okay, that is Selena book. Okay, that is mainly because they expect you all to write certain keywords while you are writing your answers, and if you are having, like if you are writing those specific keywords in your answers, you are going to get full marks. Okay, and that's the reason, like whatever point or whatever word that you feel it is highlighted, so it is necessary, so that should be always included in your definition or any kind of explanation. So this one is point of contact between terminal branches of the axon of a neuron with the dendrite of other neurons separated by a fine gap. So here you make sure that you are writing the particular keywords mentioned there. Okay, and other than that, so you can also find reflexes and certain voluntary action which are mentioned here. So definition with respect to autonomic, okay, here it is. This is with respect to nervous system. So there is a central nervous system under which the brain and spinal cord is seen. So this controls the reflex action conveying the impulse, and under this brain you will study about the cerebrum, the cerebellum, and then there is medulla oblongata. So cerebrum controls the conscious and unconscious mind, intelligence, memory, reason, etc. So cerebellum, so this is maintaining the body balance, okay, and medulla oblongata is controlling all the involuntary functions like breathing is there, or heartbeat associated movement, the peristaltic movement. So all these are under the control of medulla oblongata. So now under peripheral nervous system, okay, so other than the brain and spinal cord, so there are many nerves which are arising from brain as well as spinal cord. Okay, so that we study under this peripheral nervous system. So you can see there is somatic nervous system, which includes the nerves arising from the head region, the spinal nerve, the nerves arising from the spinal region. Okay, so in that case, the head region, the cranial part, you can find 12 pairs of them. 1 second, just a second. Why is it not going? All right. So blinking of eyes is voluntary or involuntary action. So you can blink your eyes, right? So both the types of muscles are there. Okay, like whenever you want to blink your eyes, so that is possible. So same way involuntary also. Like if something falls into your eyes, so without under your control, what happens? So you unconsciously close your eyes or blink your eyes, so that also happens. So it is basically having voluntary as well as involuntary functions. So we can consider this under both, because there are muscles associated with voluntary function as well as involuntary functions. So it is basically nothing is reduced as such. It is only the evolution chapter that they have removed. So rest of the chapter as usual it is there. So it is only the evolution chapter which is removed. Then other than that, so you can find there is sympathetic nervous system. Okay. So that is under autonomic. So here somatic, these are the nerves. So 12 pairs, 31 pairs, this you need to know, very important. And other than that, autonomic nervous system, so you can find the sympathetic nervous system and parasympathetic nervous system there, where this is a nerve between neck and the waist region, and nerves above the neck and below the sacrum. So this is above the neck and below the sacrum are associated with the parasympathetic ones. Okay, so accelerating heartbeat, dilating pupil and constricting blood vessels to release sugar from liver. So that means it is preparing your body for those actions. And other than that, so parasympathetic, when we mention, so restores the normal condition. So this is with respect to the nervous system, what is there. So now with respect to reflex action, so this is automatic involuntary action of our body brought about by the stimulus, so which will be under the control of spinal cord. Okay, and the differences is mentioned, so that is with respect to voluntary and involuntary. So involuntary, this is initiated by stimulus, mainly self-protective due to environment. So this commands originate mostly in the spinal cord and autonomic nervous system. Okay, so whereas here, okay, so this muscles, this is involving muscles as well as glands. In this case, initiated by a willing thought, fulfillment of the desired goal. So commands originate in the brain itself, and this will involve only muscles. So there is a kind of action which can be seen, which is actually under our control, but glands we cannot control, right? So the glands, like, if I ask my tear gland to pour a tear, so that is not possible. So same way, like, if I have to ask the pituitary gland to secrete some hormone, that is also not possible. So these are all involuntary, which are actually not under our control. Okay, so here there is one more thing. So this is with respect to reflex action, which is there. Okay, the types, there is natural type and there is a condition. So what exactly is this natural reflex, okay, or the conditioned reflex, which can also be called the acquired one? So this is inborn, requiring no previous experience. So this is developed by experience or learning. Okay, so same way, this is directly related to the stimulus. So this one is brought about by a condition totally different from the direct initial stimulus. Okay, so depending on, let's say, depending on the exposure that you have had, so you have learned certain things, and that is a conditioned reflex. So naturally the one which is happening, so that we call a natural reflex. So similar in all humans, the natural reflex. Okay, and here this is going to differ in different individuals subjecting to the experience. So depending on the type of experience that they have had, so this is going to vary. Okay, so one experiment is given with respect to the conditioned reflex here. Like, earlier the dog was, let's say, so the dog was there, okay, and the school bell was ringing, and this dog was not aware that whenever school bell rings, so the dog would get a food. Okay, so every time it used to see a food, it naturally used to salivate by looking at the food. Okay, so next time just the bell ring was there, so there was no food, so the dog did not salivate. But the very next time what happened, so that was a belling, like, ring was belling, and also the food was provided at the same time. So dog was able to find, like, get the food, so whenever there was a bell ring. So next time what happened, so when just the bell ring was there, so dog started salivating, that thinking that the food would arrive now because it's ringing bell. Okay, so because the bell is ringing now, so based on that, this we call, like, whatever we learn with respect to the experiences that we have had, so that we call a conditioned reflex. Okay, so ringing not followed by the food, but still the dog is salivating, thinking that the food might arrive now. Okay, and other than that, the reflex arc, when we mention, so this is, or it is the shortest route that can be taken by a receptor. Okay, so that is from receptor to effector. All right, so any doubt in this part? So Telegram group name, you can just search Vani Kari ICSE. I'll just write it here. 1 second. So you can just search Vani Kari ICSE class 9 and 10. Okay, so class 9 and 10 biology you can search, okay, on Telegram, and join it there. So I'll send the mind maps over there. Okay, so mind map of all these which are there, so I'll send it there. Yes, I'll send all the mind maps over there itself. Okay. So any doubts till this part? So nervous system was done, okay, and previous class I think I did the explanation on excretory system also. So sense organ, if I have, I'll send it anyway, but I think I'll be conducting a sessions further in upcoming classes. So one session I'll be conducting on different topic, so that is mind map session, and then I'll just explain the excretory organs in short. we can go ahead with MCQ based questions, or maybe some diagram based questions also, maybe in the next one, so that is next month. Okay, so I'll try to bring questions from this plant physiology and genetics in the other half, like MCQs from there. So PYQs chapter wise. Okay, so previous year questions, so that I need to find, it will take time, but yes, I can do that. I'll anyway find it. Okay, so from some PYQs can be done. Yes. Okay. So in group I first have to search. I don't have like topic wise and all. Chapter wise it is there, but I need to find it. It will take time, but yeah, I'll send it. Okay. Alright then, so we are done with today's session, and if you are planning on taking the subscription for the new crash course that has started, so you can use my code VaniYT. The code is VaniYT, where you can get 10% discount on the subscription. Alright then, so thank you all. So subscribe to our channel, click on bell icon, like and share the video, and the PDF, if you need this, yes, I can send it on my Telegram. So the Telegram is this one. Alright, so you can just search this Telegram on search tab, and you will find this and join it there. I'll be sending it there. Okay, alright, so see you all. Bye bye everyone, take care. Thank you all.